Hello again. As I mentioned, I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Netcapital team. I'm so excited to be on the line here with some of the good folks from Winglore Spirits. We're trying a new model here, a little bit of a happy hour style. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Yep. And so make sure you start getting prepared for a toast. So I'm giving you a little bit of a heads up to start getting prepared for a toast in this happy hour style. So before we dig in, a few quick housekeeping items. Please do use the Q&A feature built into Zoom. I know there's also a chat feature there, but the Q&A makes it a lot easier to track all the questions. We want to get to as many of them as possible, so please do ask your questions. That's what we're here for. And then also, this is being recorded. We do want you to be interactive, but if you miss anything or you know anybody that couldn't make it to the call today, yes, we will go ahead and share around the link where this will be available on YouTube in just a moment here. So as I mentioned, we are on the line here with the team from Winglore Spirits. So excited to learn more about what they're building. They're actively raising capital on the Netcapital platform. I'm going to add a link to the offering page directly into chat right now. So you can go ahead and select this link and then you could review their offering materials. And if you're so inclined, you too can invest and own a piece of the company. That being said, would love to get a quick overview of the company here. So Carlos, why don't you come on in here and tell us a little bit about what you're building with Winglore Spirits?
So absolutely. So I'm Carlos Howard. I'm the CEO of Winglore Spirits and one of the founders. So you have a couple of the founders on the line here, and basically we are industry outsiders with a love of whiskey, good spirits, and aviation. We wanted to kind of put those things together and create a company that was built around that love of aviation, and we really built it around three pillars: toast, roast, and lore, which you'll hear more about. And toast is obviously celebrating things, just like those hard-won air battles in the air, right? Roasts are making fun of ourselves when we land and did something silly, or those things we can talk about and make fun of each other. And that's how we get our call signs sometimes, by the way. And then lore, just like being a part of heritage and culture and history and those things that just kind of live on, that we pass on traditions onto the next generation. And you'll even hear how, for example, our lead blender, who we dubbed Ninja, her tie to aviation culture, and how it kind of is a thread that you'll see. If you have ever flown or been a passenger in an airplane, you can appreciate aviation. And that's how we build our spirits around.
Oh, you're on mute there, Eric.
Yes, actually, I've gotten pretty good at not doing that recently, and that's a fun little false start there. Thank you, I'm gonna have to think of a nickname. If you guys come up with a call sign for me, just go ahead and drop in the chat before I get out of here because I need some parentheses in here, some quotes in here. So, but no, before we dig into meeting all the team members, which we're gonna do right now, I just wanted to take a moment. We at Net Capital, we're really excited about different groups of people raising capital, different groups having access to capital. One of the groups that I've always been passionate about in veterans groups. And so the idea that, we don't celebrate veterans on one day or a handful of days throughout the year, but it really should be an ongoing celebration and gratitude. So I'd like to thank each member here for your service. I'd like to thank all of the attendees or anybody who watches this video. Obviously, that's what makes this country great is folks like you. So thank you so much for your service.
And thank you, Eric. Really appreciate that. Thanks for recognizing not only our service, but really the many men and women that have served with it and behind many of us. We really appreciate that. And I'm sure there are plenty of those folks that are on the call here that appreciate it as well. I guess I'll take it from there and introduce the team if that works. So I'm Eric, Eric Brine. I'm a C-17 pilot by background and trade. You'll find that the founding four ship here, the four initial founders of Winglore Spirits, are all pilots of four different airframes and backgrounds and types. My background obviously is as an Air Force pilot, but not only that, I've spent about 15 years now as both an entrepreneur, public policy expert in a variety of DC jobs from the Pentagon to the White House and Capitol Hill. And I've spent time as an expert here in Rhode Island in actually all things undersea technology. I've gotten into the spirits business over the last 2.5 years, working with a phenomenal team. You just met Carlos Howard. He's our token Marine Corps aviator and leader of the squadron here for us. Carlos has an awesome background doing things like studying Russian and serving abroad in a variety of places, and has a storied background in the aviation community that kind of continues on today, and we'll touch on that probably later. Stroke is our F-15 pilot. He's a fellow Air Force reservist. Thanks, Stroke. Obviously the best looking member of our team. So we keep him around for the smiles and good looks. Rob Trip Raymond, who's on the call there, he looks like a big R to you folks right now because he's in transit and calling in to listen. Rob is a tremendous aviator, a good friend of mine. I've known him for almost 30 years. We met together early in college and have followed each other around our Air Force careers. But Rob is probably most famous for not what he does in the cockpit, but for the music that he plays and inspires people through Dos Gringos. Rob is essentially the Jack Black of the Air Force. If anybody's familiar with Dos Gringos, you get what I mean. And then there are plenty of new folks that we brought onto the team in the last couple of years, like Amanda Ninja Beckwith, who you're going to hear from more in just a minute. She's really the brains behind the operation. Let's all be honest here, right? And you're going to see that very quickly here as she starts to talk you through a little bit of what our product is. And some other phenomenal members of the team, like Jason Ebby Myers, who's not on the call with us here today, but he's our amazing CFO who's keeping the books right and making sure that we're out there not only making money for ourselves, but making money for all you investors in the long run. So now that you know who we are and kind of what the team is, I want to make sure we stop and do this right because this is a happy hour, of course. So we've got to talk about the product a little bit, but before we do that, we always start with a toast here at Winglore. So maybe a quick toast for everybody. If you have your glasses charged, hopefully you're with us. Carlos Stroke, I see your glass. Thank you. Just a quick one. May your glass be filled with whiskey when there's nothing left but beer. May your landings equal takeoffs for another freaking year. Cheers.
Cheers.
That one's more important to some of us than others because not all of our takeoffs equal landings, Carlos. But there's a story behind that we'll share maybe later today or at another time. So without further ado, maybe Amanda, can I turn the reins over to you to talk us through this first fine beverage that we are about to consume, some of us, and some of us just tasted.
Absolutely. I'm going to start us off with Nickel on the Grass American Single Malts. And hopefully, some of you are already fans of single malts. I love them. Easiest mash grain bill to remember ever. It's just 100% malted barley, but the single actually refers to a single location. So, this is a whiskey that has been distilled, aged, bottled all at one place. This time around, it's Virginia Distillery Company in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. And it's a really romantic location. They have double copper pot stills that were made for them in Scotland. I love that. Nickel on the Grass is bottled in bond, which means it's 100 proof or 50% ABV, which is great because you can do whatever you want with it. You can put it in a cocktail and it has the structure and shoulders to really stand out well. It has these great notes from the traditional caramel and vanilla and butterscotch. You also have the beautiful apricot notes from fermentation. You get any fruit notes that you get, those orchard fruit notes, they're really delicate, but they're there. And then all that time aging in ex-bourbon barrels brings out a lot of nice barrel spice and a long finish, which I love. And at 100 proof, you can definitely reduce it down. You could have it on the rocks, you could add a couple drops of water, it can evolve, and it's meant to. So you can do a lot with this one. And American single malts are being made all over the US. We've had a lot of fun looking at other options down the road. We've done some single barrel options too. So this is one that I really enjoy. I don't know if any of you guys want to add on or talk about Nickel on the Grass and what it means or anything later on. I will give a moment for Eric to give thoughts too.
I think we should definitely do that. So maybe I'll turn to Stroke in a minute for the background on Nickel on the Grass. But one of the things that you said that I love that I never would have expected before we delved further into this venture is that you can make some amazing cocktails with this American single malt. And so much so that we've started our own list, not necessarily of cocktails, but here at Winglore Spirits, we have mocktails. Now I know what you're thinking. You're a spirits company. You've got mocktails. Yes, because our mocktails are spelled MACH tails, because we put the boom back in mocktails. Our mocktails are fully loaded. So there are a couple great, amazing mocktails with our Winglore Spirits, and this one I think in particular. So maybe Stroke, you want to share what Nickel on the Grass means to us in our community?
Yeah, Nickel on the Grass is a really special name to us and only would name a premium whiskey Nickel on the Grass. There's an old story behind this that essentially has to do with throwing 5 cents or a nickel onto the grass or the cemetery or the graveside or as a toast to a fallen aviator. This goes back many, many conflicts ago, to Vietnam and then Korea before, based on a song from the Salvation Army. I won't go into all the lyrics right now, but it has become over time a universal toast to the courage and sacrifice of fallen pilots. And so whenever a pilot passes away, whether that is in combat or training or just of good old age, we toast a nickel to that fallen aviator, and everyone would respond, nickel, and then we drink to their memory.
I love that.
This single malt is very special as a premium spirit that's been aged for 6 or 7 years and finished in these ex-bourbon casks. It gives it a wonderful complexity and a wonderful tasting profile that cascades through the tasting notes from beginning sip to end in the finish that Amanda is much more articulate at than I am, so I'm not going to try, especially in front of her. But it is like to something that's so special to military aviators and to that name. It is truly a whiskey deserving of it, of that name.
Well said.
I think that's brilliant. And I think one of the things that's always drawn me to Winglore and your team is that some of the best things that come with coming together around a good whiskey or bourbon, it's really the time with friends and the storytelling and kind of the ability to kind of transcend wherever you came from to where you are right at that moment. So I'm so grateful to be able to share this with you all. I think it's a fantastic finish. I think when you taste it, there's so much flavor there. I can imagine doing so many things with it, like you said, for in terms of cocktails. But I'm really glad that I started off with that one just neat because you just really get to sit down and enjoy every sip of it. I think you guys have done a masterful job.
I think we're really excited to provide this ultra premium spirit, and I'm glad you've been able to sacrifice for the team, Eric, and step in here and enjoy it with us. You've got your bottle there with you, right? You've got to you've got to finish up this glass because we're getting ready to turn it over to Amanda for the other one. So I'm sorry to put
Perfect.
you through this, but you're gonna have to close that glass out and get ready to pour a little bit of bogey dough.
So, someone have to do it. Someone has to do it. I actually brought another glass, but I wasn't sure if we're gonna do on the rocks or neat. But I'm gonna finish this off so I can try this one, neat, the next one neat as well.
All
Cheers.
right,
Thanks, team.
I'm gonna
And
do
it
this.
is a fun exercise to double fist in a way, go back and forth and look for similarities and differences. So I do that all the time. Yeah, Bogey Dope is a bourbon. Whiskey is this massive umbrella, lots of raindrops falling down underneath it. It's a distilled spirit made from grain. So we already talked about what the raindrop of American single malt is. Bourbon, by law, needs to be made in the United States. Doesn't need to be made in Kentucky. It could be made in Alaska if we wanted. But it does need to come from at least 51% corn in the mash bill. So this particular mash bill is 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. And by law, bourbon has to age in new charred oak. So you're going to have a little more of that oak influence coming in. It's a little more of that heft, which is why I said let's start with the more delicate, nuanced nickel on the grass and then move into bogey dope territory. And you're gonna get the vanillins. You're gonna get that oak tannic structure and impression. Again, at 100 proof, it's lovely at that strength and it's going to stand up well in mocktails. But also, if you want to have it on the rocks, add some water, pair it with food. Any whiskey that we're releasing is going to pair beautifully with lots of different types of food, from chocolates to steak. I mean, shrimp and grits, you name it. It's got that structure and a lot of flavor components that really meld nicely. And again, I love the long finish. It's not exactly aggressive, it's just got a presence and lingers on the palate, which is what I like. You don't want to have a whiskey and then a few seconds later forget what it was that you drank. I don't know if Stroke wants to talk about what bogey dope means.
Please.
Sure, I'll give it a hack. What Hollywood portrays in movies is when they're showing fighter pilots or pilots, there's a lot of chatter. They're talking to each other, they're arguing with each other on the radio as they're fighting, and it's just
You mean like
sound
Iron Eagle, like famous movie,
exactly,
like
yeah.
Iron Eagle.
Uh, do some of that pilot shit, you know? And so it's just a lot of chatter. It's just not realistic. When we speak on the radio, we're trying to be succinct and we use what are called brevity words, which means I say one word on the radio and it invokes something or some type of succinct response because there's a lot of ways in which your brain bites are being spent as you're flying in the air. And so bogey dope is one of these terms that you say on the radio as a request for the nearest target to you. So it means that, I'm in the middle of a fight, and I say bogey dope on the radio, and a command and control asset will look at the nearest guy that's a threat to me and point him out. And so in this way, it's a fun play on words, bogey dope bourbon. And on the other side, it's also this, we're seeking to find the best bourbon available and bottle it, which is where Amanda comes in. So there's this duality with the name that is fun as a name for a bourbon, but also the duality of we're seeking the best damn bourbon that's out there. And Amanda is that command and control person that's helping us get there. And so that is where the name Bogey Dope comes from. And what I tried to do, because I'm trying to become like her, is I put on our website a few of the different notes with this. In a typical flight, you have your takeoff and you have your landing, of course. Ideally, Carlos might tell us a story where there wasn't a landing involved. And then in the middle, there's something that we would call a fights on, which in a training environment means it's time to do the mission set that we went out there to do. So with these flavor profiles that I tried to break down a little bit in respect for my mentor, Amanda, I said the takeoff of Bogey Doe is like an unrestricted climb, meaning you're accelerating and climbing as quickly as you can into the sky. And if you just nose the whiskey with me and see if you can pull out caramel, charred oak, and butterscotch. Am I doing well, Ninja?
It's a flyby. Remember, it's not a
Flyby, yeah.
Yeah.
flyby.
So an unrestricted climb into those classic bourbon aromas, the caramel, charred oak, butterscotch. And now it's time to taste the whiskey. It's time to taste the bourbon. So this is our fights on now. Like this is the moment we've been waiting for. We have this beautiful bottle. It's time to taste it and taste this delicious whiskey. And so what we're going to get here, what I wrote was vanilla bean and freshly cracked pepper merge with caramel and husky sweet corn, all showcasing maneuvers worthy of a 7-year seasoned dogfighter. So taste that and see if you can pull out that cracked pepper of the rye, a little bit of that spice, sweet corn, caramel.
You're poetic now. I love it.
And then the landing. So as we think about the finish, and you let that finish roll out into lingering rye spice and mild citrus, traces of dark chocolate guide you clear of the active runway. So it's just some fun we have with some of the aviation terms and what makes our brand unique and what we're trying to do and stand out from everybody else that's out there in this fun aviation culture that we have to share alongside our premium whiskey.
Yeah, it's actually a very good segue into something we'll talk about. And Eric, I'll let you tell the story of it, but kind of alluding to my accident slant ejection. That's kind of like what there's a inspiration we had in our history of something else. It's like my ejection. You wouldn't want to do it, right? It's one of those things that sometimes you have to do it. And I'll just throw the name out there, Jeremiah Weed. There was no takeoff, by the way. My takeoffs do equal landings because I never took off. Just going to say that. But that goes into kind of the part of the inspiration for how we started this company. And again, every detail matters. But the ejection is more like Jeremiah Weed. Eric, if you want to go on that thread.
I think that's about right. Let me kick it back to Eric though, because this is his show. We don't want to totally steal it and go off script.
No, I think so. I think, one of the things I love about this is, fundraising is an incredibly emotional experience. People like to think of this as hyper analytical or looking through a balance sheet or P&L. No, it's about the experience, it's about the team, it's about the leadership, it's about the storytelling. So I didn't want to distract. I don't want my stuff to distract from that, which I think is actually truly invaluable. But I do have a couple of questions coming in, and that's the other value, which is to make sure that the investors get their questions answered as well. So I do want to sneak in something from somebody from Kansas. Asked a couple quick questions. What is the current state of the market, including what's going on with Canada, and how does the Winglore plan to achieve success there?
You bet. I think there are a couple different ways to take this this question, and I think it looks like you asked that question kind of twice. So we'll see if we can delve into
Yeah, we could
some.
also talk about plans for distribution. Yeah, we could loop that in there as well. Yeah, and cost plans. Yep.
Yeah, so maybe Carlos, why don't we have you kick it off with what our plans are, and we can get to Canada a little bit probably embedded in that, and how our plans for international rollout get to a little later in our go-to-market strategy. So if you want to talk maybe first just a little bit about what our go-to-market strategy looks like and our plans for success.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with the trends in the market, so basically volume has definitely creeped down a little bit. That's kind of that post-COVID hangover. If some people refer to it as a slight bubble, but in terms of the value of the whiskeys that are coming out in the premium part of that market, that is actually rising, and we're seeing year over year increase in that part. So that is really the segment of the market that we're in and we want to be a part of. The biggest thing about the launch for us is we are an American whiskey company, and we're starting off with American whiskeys. So we want to bring good spirits to the US market. But the good news is the world is actually clamoring for American whiskeys as well. So yes, there's a lot of, let's say, nuanced things that we'll have to kind of ride through, if you will, with export, import type of things and referring to the tariffs. How it relates to the Canadian market is actually an interesting thing. So this is just a nuanced piece of things. If they're not going to buy as much bourbon, that means that there's going to be more bourbon in the United States, but a lot of that's not premium bourbon. So we will still be able to stand out and actually be able to bargain for bourbon prices in a little bit better way that's favorable to us, actually, which means we'll be able to bring premium bourbon and spirits to our market at a better value. So that's kind of that piece of it. In terms of the go-to-market strategy, we're definitely starting off with the direct-to-consumer channel being our primary one. That's where we've split, and our team agreed that 75% of our sales in this first year, which is really kind of a test for us, is to go on the direct-to-consumer and then open up slowly in some of the traditional retail places. So the good news is direct-to-consumer is in 34 states as we speak. That is essentially equivalent to a national opening because we consider ourselves to be a national brand. But we're going to hyper-focus on some retail markets that we can do coverage in as owners and ambassadors, and we'll refer to that a little bit later. But that's kind of the general overview.
Yeah, I'll touch on a couple things there. Oh, there we go. Appreciate the visual there. So this shows in black every state that's available to order Winglore Spirits online direct to consumers as of today, right now. Those grayer states, unfortunately, you've got to talk to your state legislature or your governor about, because you can't get spirits by mail in those states. But all of those states in black, you can order Winglore Spirits on our website right now and get delivery in about a week's time. The two things I'd add maybe to what you said there, Carlos, when it comes to the timing of what we're doing, it's always interesting to watch what the bell curve or the change in the market of spirits as compared to what happens. And it turns out that people are interested in spirits all the time. When times get worse, people drink even more. When times are good, people drink. When times are bad, people drink more, right? So I have a variety of jobs and backgrounds as we've talked about, and a lot of people come to me regularly and say, Eric, what is going to happen with the rest of 2025? Politically, it's a mess. I don't know what's happening. From a policy perspective, where are we going as the United States? I don't know. The markets are all over the place. What's happening? And in all of my jobs, I say, I can't predict what 2025 is going to look like. But the one thing that I do know is everybody is drinking more. So this is the best place for us to be in developing a spirits company that is just right for the American consumer today. But it's also right for the international consumer. And I will say we already have investments coming in from the UK, from Norway, from Chile, from Australia, and several other places that we're talking to. And we've kind of gotten ourselves ready to open up for an international market as well. So one of the challenges many spirits companies face is they need to have the right bottle in order to meet an international market. And we've been, I think, smart right from the beginning to design our bottle around not only US standards, but international standards. So this bottle that you're looking at right here can immediately ship to an international market once we make the move to expand in that way. So we're ready to expand not only to Canada, but well beyond Canada I know our folks to the north are gonna love some Winglore Spirits.
And I actually want to pop in for just a moment here. I think that was really, really helpful understanding the market. We're about halfway through our allotted time here. So I like to remind folks, you talked about international investors. While the companies on Net Capital must be US by law, international investors are allowed to participate through the offering. So I'm gonna add a link into the chat here again. Again, if you select that link, you can go to netcapital.com. You could review the offering page. You can learn more about this fantastic team and the reason behind their launch here, and you can select the invest button, and you too can own a piece of Winglore Spirits as they grow here. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. Some people think that this is a uniquely U.S. investment opportunity. That is not the case. We'd love to welcome our partners from around the globe to invest in this opportunity.
Yeah. All of our international investors so far have come through Net Capital. And I will say we got blown up on social media just yesterday by one of our investors in Norway. Loving it.
We love to see it. We think that the idea that you can love something and you can own a piece of it, that has always been a part of our ethos. The idea, the days of loving a product and only being a customer, I hope those are moving forward, further and further behind us. Want them to be able to grow with you as they enjoy the product. And we've worked with alcohol brands in the past, and one of the things we love to do is ask locations if they carry the product. Please, enjoy the product, love the product, and then help this group expand. You can help them get into different locations by asking, hey, do you carry Winglore? Do you carry Winglore? And then you increase the distribution, and guess what? That can help directly impact the value of your ownership stake here by getting them into more distribution locations and helping them drive more sales. So I think it's a real natural, kind of one hand watching the other symbiotic relationship here. So and I absolutely love it. My brother is gonna love it. I wanted to try it first. My brother was looking at this bottle and he wanted to try it. He's a huge bourbon guy. I'm so glad that I finally broke the cap and now I can take it over and let them enjoy it as well. Feels like it would pair wonderfully with a cigar if that's what you're into. I feel like I can, and all the golf references. This feels like my front nine struggles already. So I think a little bit of bogey dope is what's missing from my swing.
I'm sure it will improve your game. Guaranteed. I will say, Eric, one of the things that you touched on was really one of the reasons that we came to Net Capital from the beginning. So we did bring in a little bit of investment before we came to Net Capital, and we had tremendous success in that area. We raised almost $1 million in only 3 weeks. So we didn't necessarily feel like we needed to do a crowdfunding raise to raise money, but we wanted to do a crowdfunding raise and through a company like Net Capital because we wanted to reach a much broader group of investors and owners in our company, right? So we really wanted to reach out to all of those junior officers, all of those new wingmen, all of those young pilots out there that they don't qualify as an accredited investor, right? They're new in the military. They make a very reasonable salary that while they're out there, in some cases risking their life for our freedom. And we want them to be part of our team and they're very much on brand for us and part of the squadron that we're trying to build for all the reasons that you mentioned. We want them to be part of our success, not only in helping us by going out and sharing the idea of what Winglore Spirits is, buying that bottle for the next promotion, for the next retirement, whatever that gift is, but we want them to invest in our spirit and be part of the success as we move on. So that brand ambassador and us building a squadron was really why we came to Net Capital in the first place.
I love that. Thank you so much for allowing folks to have that opportunity. This feels like a perfect time to talk more about that brand ambassadorship and the owner's coin. I think that's over to you, Stroke, to tell us a little bit more about that opportunity. Oh, here we go, right there.
Right. So it's important for those of you that have already invested in Net Capital, you probably have seen a couple emails that have come out from the Net Capital team asking you to share your contact information because we want to get you one of those. Because if you're an investor in Winglore Spirits, you're an owner and you want to carry that coin with you, especially if you come out to any of our events, because it'll get you free entrance to any of our tastings or events that are in your area. But it also kind of authorizes you in a way to be an ambassador for us and walk into a bar, a restaurant, the favorite place that you like to go and enjoy these spirits and say, we need you to carry Winglore Spirits. We want you to have Bogey Dope on your shelf. We want you to have Nickel on the Grass. So we can share, in what we're trying to do here in Winglore Spirits. There are going to be a whole variety of different types of events that are rolling out too in the coming weeks, months, and years to follow. And we want all of our brand ambassadors to be on that team. So when you get an email from Eric or Paula or any of the folks at Netcapital, please share your information with us so we can make sure that we get you that coin and you're getting more and more information from us about ways that you can share what we're doing at Winglore Spirits with the people that you tend to have your beverage with.
Can we talk a little bit about how impactful social media will be on helping this company grow? And then can we talk about some of the fun, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but some fun competitions upcoming that people can participate in? And you could tell me to be quiet if I
No,
overstep.
no, that's good. That's good. We want to let one of those cats out of the bag here. Why don't I turn over to Stroke first? Stroke, if you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing on social media, because I think that's been pretty big, and maybe talk a little bit about makers and allies and their success with what our brand looks like. And then I'll come back and share a little bit about the spoiler alert that Eric's alluding to.
Yeah, one of the important facets of our company is that direct to consumer market. So it's all online. It's amazing that here in 2025 you can get this bottle of bourbon shipped directly to your door if you're in one of those 34 states that we mentioned and showed on the screen earlier. So a big piece of that is obviously social media and being able to share those links and for that to go out. We partnered with a premium marketing company out of California called Makers and Allies that's very experienced in this space, as well as with some very large name whiskey companies that you would recognize if I were to list them out. And they now help us and enable us to run marketing campaigns to form strategy around decisions that we're making in order to really proliferate ourselves into the digital marketplace. And a big piece of that isn't just the fact that obviously we like the bourbon and we want to drink it, but the community is really, really important, as Eric or Easy already spoke to, and why we're doing this net capital raise is that we want to build a squadron. And so we build a squadron by joining us on social media and building our community together and sharing these things together, as well as buying the whiskey and joining us here for toast or the various events that we go to as and then own a piece of the squadron, right, through this net capital raise that we're speaking to right now. And so our success in this space was articulated by our social media manager who's been in the alcohol industry for 10 years. Over the last 6 months, she has said that our growth is unlike anything that she has seen. We're beating alcohol industry averages by a factor of 10. We're getting millions of impressions a month, and we're reaching a lot of people because the brand is compelling, the story is compelling, and it's not one dimensional. It's not one celebrity, it's not one joke, it's not one story. It's many people, and it's all of those who are choosing to engage with the Winglore Squadron and be a part of who we are.
So I'll say, like from a business standpoint, when we started this journey a few years ago, I thought this was going to be an interesting job that hopefully I'd retire into, and this was a great lifestyle business that would be a lot of fun, to ease into someday when I move into semi-retirement. After meeting Carlos and Stroke and working with Trip on this for a couple of years and bringing on folks like Amanda to the team, we've realized like we're in a great startup space. This is not just a lifestyle business. This is a growth business with an awesome exit opportunity. And there are phenomenal businesses that are exiting in this space in the 3 to 5 year window. So that is our expectation now is we're a growth company and we're looking to grow Winglore Spirits with the potential for an exit in the 5 to 7 year window. And we brought on a company to help us build a brand that would do that. So Makers and Allies, the company that Stroke was referring to, first help us engineer like this pretty amazing bottle, right? This is probably not like any other bottle you've seen. It looks like a fifth generation fuselage of a fighter, maybe an F-117. You look at the bottle from the bottom, and it looks like the inlet of a jet engine on a fighter aircraft. When you pull off the plastic wrap, you'll see you can pop off a coin that'll have the Winglore Spirits emblem on it right on the top there that snaps into place back in the cap. That took us a long time to get right, by the way. There are all sorts of awesome little pieces and parts of this bottle and the packaging around that reflect the things that are important to us as aviators and in our community. When you look at the top of the bottle, there's inlaid, it might be hard to see in the light here, but there's a joker line here and a bingo line here. That bingo line means you're out of fuel. When you hit bingo, it's an emergency. When you hit bingo on this bottle, it's an emergency. You need to immediately get online or get to the store and refill your bogey dope. In the future, we'll work towards the appropriate microelectronics embedded in the glass to automatically order that bottle for you so you don't have that challenge. That technology is almost here with us, but it's not quite there yet. We're still working on it. That's in progress. But these are the sort of like little details that are incredibly important to us because in our business, all of these things, all of these intricacies are fun and interesting, but they're also incredibly important. We live in a world where details matter. Timing is incredibly important. In fact, it's life and death sometimes. And we bring that same level of attention to detail that we have in our world of aviation and flying in the military to the spirits industry now. And that's going to make us successful as a business.
I love the fine details. You mentioned the definition for bingo and the out of fuel, the Joker reference. So could you share that? Maybe I missed that part. What is that alluding to?
Yeah, Joker is a fun one. So it's basically and this is why we have, so as Eric said, bingo's at the end, like you're out. Joker is a pre-briefed fuel state that basically says you have enough gas for one more go, whatever that mission is that day. Our Joker is a little bit high. That means you're pouring with friends in the squadron, but you're going to hit bingo pretty quick. So that's what Joker means. You've
That's
got
awesome.
one more fight left, and then it's going to be time.
And Eric, by the way, the coin on top really can be used as a ball marker too for your golf game
Oh yeah.
there.
Yeah, there you go, golf.
See, look at all the ways we're helping you out here, Eric.
Well, no, you don't want me to put this down because after I six putt, people are going to be concerned about the quality of the Winglore, or maybe they'll be even more excited because of how poorly I'm playing.
I was going to say, I'm not that upset about it because it's just more airtime you're giving us. That's just
Uh,
advertising for your six putt. It's getting a lot of time on the green there, my friend.
it's getting a lot of time. Yeah, it certainly is. No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing it. And I do think I really hope some people have this at home, and if not, they do order because there's one thing to see it on the Zoom, but when you actually get to look and hold and feel it, it screams ultra premium, and I think that's something that we've always thought about during the whole design process. I think it's incredible, and then all the way down to the way that the bottle actually kind of fits into the logo, the way it fits in with the design of the bottle. It is a fighter jet. Um, I know there were also one more conversation around social media, potential competitions, some exciting
Yeah.
things going on there.
That's right. Let me get back to that. Thanks for bringing us back there. So the brand ambassador piece, the social media piece is incredibly important for us. So for those of you that have been on Netcapital and have gone through and looked at all the information there, you've probably gotten to the point where you've seen what our budget looks like. Is we are very heavy on the marketing, right? We are a new brand and we are treating this business like it's a new brand poised for growth and growth in the way that Stroke talked about, unlimited climb, right? We're planning to go pretty vertical here quickly. So we are investing heavy on the marketing side, and that means there's a big social media aspect for us. So one of the things that we're starting just this week, I think Carlos mentioned this earlier when we showed the map, we just started shipping in the last week to folks in the United States in those 34 states. And we want all of our owners out there, we're starting to get them in like on text, friends, family, people that are just starting to engage with us on social media are starting to send pictures with their Winglore bottle, like, next to their face. Oh, I got this one. We want to see your most exciting, interesting picture with your brand new Winglore bottle. And we're going to send a care package out from the Winglore team with a little bit of swag, the Winglore hat, the Winglore shirt, and maybe some other swag to the best picture, the most unique picture we get on social media before the end of the month of August on any social media platform to any owner. And that means you got to be an owner, you got to be an investor. And that can happen at a very low dollar figure of $101, 50 shares of Winglore Spirits on Netcapital. So as long as you're in the owner category and we've seen your name, we classify you as an owner, you'll be qualified for that gift package. And we're going to run a whole bunch of these sorts of competitions on social media because it's really important for us to be regularly engaging and hearing things from you guys as owners and the people that are excited about Winglore Spirits. So look for other things in the future like best toasts. You heard Carlos say it earlier. Our tagline is toast, roast, and lore. So we're going to want to hear your toasts. Mine was pretty good, but there are better ones out there, and I know you've got them. Carlos and Stroke are laughing because I know they've got them for sure. We want to hear your roasts, we want to hear your stories, and we want to share them with the world.
I think that's so fantastic. I'm already thinking I got some good ones in my back pocket on the toast. I'm not sure if you'll get access to my roast quite yet, but I think the photo opportunity I think is super cool. Definitely keep an eye out for that. And again, one of the things like we love about the platform is that we try to keep the investment minimums as manageable as possible. So participate at the rate that you're comfortable with, but we do want to kind of design this offering in a way that we think mostly everybody can participate in. Um, I love the idea, the competition, the social media. Let's talk about traction. I don't think, the way we are with these beautiful bottles in home, I don't think people fully appreciate how much you've done, how quickly. Can we talk about what you've been able to accomplish, some of the recent successes, and then kind of traction in terms of shipping and when that began? Let's talk a little bit about that because I think it's a really important piece of the story.
Absolutely. Maybe Stroke, you want to talk a little bit about that first and then pass it over to Carlos?
Yeah, absolutely. The dry goods was a process. There were multiple times we accepted almost heartbreaking delays in receiving our dry goods because we were not willing to accept something that was less than premium or less than excellent. So we went through many iterations, even after the design phase, as in order to get a bottle and to get this final product that we're very proud of now, and that does speak premium as we've already mentioned. We've actually, and Ninja knows this better than I do, but as we have spoken with other spirit companies, we have been very happy with the timeline we've actually been able to keep based on all the events that are happening in America with trade and with tariffs worldwide, which affects domestic policies and everything else, to include just being able to ship the bottle and get it to warehouses and everything that's required through the logistical process to get this bottle full of premium bourbon or American single malt and then to your door. As part of that, what we did is just 13 days ago now is we launched that direct to consumer model, shipping to 34 states. We're so pleased with our growth, and we had a call today with our fulfillment manager, who basically told us, "I am overwhelmed and happy. Couldn't be more happy to see how fast you have grown." And we went through all the numbers. I could say some really impressive numbers like 169% here and out of the charts here. We're selling a lot right now, and we have bottles flying out of our warehouse so fast that we actually triggered a safety feature on our distributor's website because they thought we had sold out of everything and we were basically moving too fast. And it must mean there was a glitch in the system. So they had to shut everything down so that customers wouldn't be disappointed that there weren't bottles to send to them, just because of how fast those sales were going. And so we were just one more hurdle to jump over in the process of things that we learn in this distribution process. But we're so pleased that typically we're able to fulfill orders within 2 days that we receive an order online. Within 2 days, 95% of those orders are out of the warehouse and on their way to your door. Where you live in America depends on how long, of course, it takes to get that to your house. But we couldn't be more pleased that 13 days into this, we've seen such numbers, such growth, such accelerating sales, and then a continuing steady climb. We're not in a plateau, we haven't stagnated, and we don't expect to either as we prepare for a busy fall and the sales through our October, November, December timeframe. With that, Carlos, I think I had a couple of the highlights, but I'll turn it over to you to for anything I might have
Yeah,
missed.
I mean, a couple of other just fun things. We keep talking about the events. Like we have organic to us a band that is part of our culture and heritage, and they've really kind of hit part of our primary market, but that is really our launch in Atomic was a very big milestone because with that launch in Atomic, which was in Las Vegas, we we basically brought something to market, right? We had an event and we were able to do a full market launch, and there was a lot of buzz and feedback that we got from outside, not only industry people, but distributors in other states that saw that. So it was kind of like setting a signal out to the world. We've also done a bottling, which you see the bottle there next to Stroke, which was original artwork that we did for a squadron purchase for the fourth fighter wing. So it was more than a squadron, actually, a couple of squadrons. And we were able to do with Amanda, pick some premium spirits, be able to get original artwork and do specialized bottlings for them. The other thing that did was lock in our trademarks. So it was always kind of two reasons to do something. And I'll tell you that this is what you get with professional military people who come into like the space, if you will. This is why I like working with pilots in particular. It's that work ethic we've found in Ninja and Ebby and the team at Virginia Distillery. But a lot of our people who had these same ideations, and believe me, there's quite a few of them, they try to go to market and turns out they didn't have the intellectual property. So that's huge. We have trademarks that are locked in, and it takes a really long time to get those. So we did that over a 2.5 year period, just again, waiting for those things to be locked in. And I would say the other major momentum and success that we're having is because of these events that we've done and are soon to launch in the naval aviator space at Tailhook. We're getting a lot of people reaching out to us from various places that will help us open in the exchange system, which is another market that nobody knows about. Military exchanges, Marine Corps exchange, Army Air Force exchange, and of course the naval exchange, really big markets. And then I have distributors reaching out to us from Texas, California, and again, they're just waiting to see who you guys distribute through. And we now have multiple vectors to be able to use just from this small bit of launch that we've done so far.
Yeah, there are a couple things that whenever I'm talking to an investor that I bring up that I say these are key indicators for us that show us that we're going to be successful. And Stroke touched on one of them, right? Just in the first 4 days of when we opened, we got paused by our online distributor because we were moving so fast. They weren't sure that we could meet capacity, and we were ready to do that, and we could, right? We actually had they told us, we had forgotten we put this failsafe in the system. So sorry about the pause, but for new liquor companies, we're afraid you can't meet capacity. So we blew past that right from the get-go. Our company that we work with, Makers and Allies, that help us design the bottle, that do a lot of our marketing, have been nominated for an award based upon our brand. They're super excited. It's called a Pen Award. Not my area of business, never heard of it. This is super exciting for them, and we're really excited to be a part of it. So much so that they went out and created an entire new website about our brand for them for this award. Really exciting, effort put in there. And then lastly, we talked about events. We have a bunch of them coming up. Some of them that have been successful already. We had an event out in Denver just last month, 2 months ago, to raise money for the Heritage Museum, Wings Over the Rockies, that was helping to raise money to bring an F-16 to that museum later this year. We only had just started putting our whiskey in bottles, and we only had the prototype available of some of these bottles. But at the end of the night, at the end of the concert that went off, we auctioned off one of our prototype bottles. And not only did we raise $85,000 for the museum that night by hosting tastings and putting on a show, we raised $10,000 by selling one of those bottles. So somebody bought that bottle for 10 grand. It's still the most expensive Winglore bottle out there, but we think we can do better in the future. We're excited
Yeah,
about the
for
prospects.
now. Yeah, most of it's for now. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And I know we're getting towards the end of our program, and we got a couple more questions that came in, and I want to do a couple more quick things if I may. First, I'd like to shout out Jim and Andrew, who both invested while we were on the line here. So welcome to the Winglore family. Love to have you come in here. That's what we're here for. Thanks for selecting the link, learning about the offering and investing. And then I wanted to take a couple more minutes to talk a little bit about this specialized bottling. And Ninja, I want to hear your perspective on this because I know you were obviously super impactful on the formulation. So can you tell us a little about, I think, the fourth fighter wing specialized bottling, if I have that right?
Yeah. So it's for Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. And we did two single cask selections. So, yes, there we go. One was aged in ex-bourbon barrels, and they're both American single malts. The other one was really rare. We aged the whiskey in these red wine casks from Europe that were shaved, toasted, charred, and they held this premium red wine before we got them and put the new make whiskey in. So, yeah, you get this incredible balance of wood sugars, the red fruits, and then for years of aging in this very dynamic climate with incredible temperature swings, the depth of that whiskey is amazing. So I think it went pretty fast, but I think we're working on some other fun single casks in the near future. And it's really great to have lots of relationships, lots of access to incredible casks, not only from the US, but potentially, around the world down the road.
This cuvee
So
finish is unbelievable, and we're sold out of it already. We already have locked in the next barrel and plan to bottle that in the fall. So that will be available again in our website. Check back in with us this fall, and you'll be able to get something really rare, unique, and wonderful.
and that is so cool. Thank you so much for that. And I knew I couldn't do it justice, so I'm glad I welcomed you in there, Ninja. And I know we talked about the band and some of the cool promotions that you guys did out in Vegas. So I wanted to give a shout out to Trip here on the line with Dos Gringos. I definitely go ahead and check them out. That sounds like a good time. I can't wait to meet up in person and hear some of that. Okay, I'm gonna sneak in one or two more questions coming in from the community, and then I'd love to kind of finish by talking a little bit about kind of long-term exit strategy and kind of closing remarks. That being said, I am going to go ahead and do this caveat right now. The future is inherently uncertain and speculative, right? We're talking about our goals, what we intend to do, what we'd like to do, what we're planning to do. But that's kind of the nature of the future. We don't know. Nobody does. So I like to get that asterisk out of the way immediately. Future is inherently uncertain and speculative. But back to the question here, are there future plans to open lines for other spirits? I love the way this is phrased. Gin, vodka, disgusting flavored whiskeys. This is a quote unquote. I didn't do this. And so I'll open that up to the team.
Carlos, that's you. Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. Well, that is why we called ourselves Winglore Spirits Company. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew, again, we're starting with what our proto things are, things that we know are good in the market right now. Again, accessibility, but premium. But we want to be responsive and agile as a company. And so this is something that is a feedback that we're going to be able to do through, kind of Stroke is alluding to the club as well. We've been trying some very special things, and this is why we have Amanda. She will be able to, again, we trust her she's our chief product officer, and there will be directions we can go. The nice thing about direct to consumer versus doing a broad strategy across traditional markets is that we can actually provide smaller quantities of things, special bottlings online, and you can get them to those places instead of investing in a lot of something that we don't know that we'd be able to maybe sell in the volumes we would want to. So again, that's the place where we can do these special offerings, and through the club, we'll be able to give those connoisseurs a little more of the things that they trust us to bring them that are special. But maybe Amanda, you'd want to maybe just touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, we can give a little teaser for something we're maybe entering prototype phase for very soon. There is the potential for a bourbon liqueur. So, not exactly a flavored whiskey, something maybe a little more in the bourbon liqueur range, and some cool historic ties to what that would take inspiration from, but maybe putting a twist of a little more quality into it. And yes, especially when you come to the single cask world, it does not need to be whiskey. So we have at our fingertips some really fun potential bottlings down the road. And yeah, especially with that club, it's a really fun way to get to trial out some unique things. And it's a fun time to play. There's a lot of good quality spirit out there. And so as we have all these connections and relationships built, it's going to be exciting to see what comes out next.
And hopefully this gets back to my uncle who owns a tequila brand. I'm just going to say that. So there's some ability to do that in the future as well.
Awesome. I think that perfectly sets up for the last couple of minutes to do. Let's talk a little bit about potential exit strategies. So, and again, a lot of uncertainty here. There's planning here. This is the goal is to accomplish these exits. I like to remind folks that most of these larger like alcohol brand ownership, AB, InBev, Diageo, they are very much more on the acquisition side of growth than they are on the creation side of growth. It seems like they have pretty much fully adopted the idea that they're going to wait for other people to do a great job and then acquire them rather than to try to create something on their own. So, can we talk about broad picture? I know we alluded to it. Initially, it was more a little bit more lifestyle. Now we really do see the legs in kind of in a growth style company. Easy, maybe you want to talk a little bit about potential exit opportunities.
Absolutely. So, like we talked about earlier, we really did shift fairly early on when we realized what this landscape looks like, and it is ripe for an exit, just for the reasons that you mentioned, Eric. There are some big companies, big corporations out there that really dominate in the spirits industry, and they look to acquire small, exciting startup ventures like ours. And that's something we're absolutely open to. We're putting a lot of our investment and your investment forward to build us as a brand. We're not expecting to pay dividends here in the near term. We're pushing all of our revenue into growth because we're growing not only in taking market share and opening ourselves up to new markets, expanding regionally, and eventually internationally, because we are looking at for those exit opportunities in that 5 to 7 year time frame, right? That's where we kind of see the sweet spot currently for brands that we would kind of see as similar or akin to ours. So that's something that we're looking forward to. If not, though, we see ourselves long term as being able to continue to grow and dominate market share as we do the variety of things around events and growing in the spirits space that'll make us a really profitable company long term if an exit isn't something that happens in that 5 year range.
Another thing that kind of ties into my final kind of closing remarks here is why is now the perfect time for everybody listening, and I'm going to share the link to the YouTube in just a moment here for folks who come back and watch this later. But why is now the perfect time to go to netcapital.com and invest in Winglore Spirits?
The share price is never getting cheaper than it is right now. I'll tell you that. So that's number one, what makes it the right time. I think we talked about this a lot as a team, and I think I mentioned this even to you earlier. I knew when we got into this brand ambassador and crowdfunding raise that we would move pretty quickly to $250,000, and we did. We went super fast right out of the gate to 250. There'd be a little bit of a lull period in that 250 to 750 time frame, and we're in that window right now. When we start to do some of the big events that we have coming up later in this week, being at Navy's Tailhook, in September, being at AFA, the Air Force Association's big annual conference, where we have product in those places for people to try, and we're really getting to our people, right? That's going to start to move a lot quicker. And we get out there on big podcasts in the aviation space, the Fighter Pilot podcast, the Afterburner podcast. We were just on the Mover and Gonky show that's big in our space. All those things, and now that we're shipping, that's going to accelerate the people that are buying. What we're seeing a lot of is people went and they bought $1,000 worth of Winglore, then they got a bottle and they turned that $1,000 into $10,000 of investment because we set out to make a good whiskey and a good product, and it turned out, thanks to Amanda, we're making an absolutely amazing product. So people are not only excited about the brand, but they're excited about the product. So get it while you can now.
I think that's everything I had here. I'd like to kind of let anybody else share anything they'd like to share. Before I let anybody else come in and share their last little bit, obviously a reminder, you can go directly to this link that I'm adding to the chat. You can select that link. You could review the offering page for Winglore Spirits. If you're listening to this, you can't see this. That is netcapital.com/companies/Winglore Spirits. Or you can go to netcapital.com and search link Winglore, and it'll be available right there. Or, of course, you can select the link that I just added into the chat there. Keep an eye out for opportunities. Please do opt in. We do have to protect our investors. That's why we can't just automatically share your information to the Winglore team. If you're interested in checking out that care package that's dropping soon, I see what you did there. Great reference. If you're interested in care package, look out for those social media opportunities to share about how your photos, your toasts, your roasts. Make sure you don't miss out on that. So make sure you opt in and share your information with the Winglore team there. And I think with that being said, I'm going to add a link into the Netcapital YouTube account here. If you missed anything, or if you know anybody that wasn't able to attend that might want to learn more about the investment opportunity, this is being recorded and will be uploaded to Netcapital's YouTube here shortly. So I want to make sure we covered all that. But any last thoughts before I thank you, your incredible team here? I knew I was going to walk away without a single drop left here. You guys did a phenomenal job. And I'm mostly talking to you, Ninja. Incredible job, incredible formulation. But the rest of the team, I think you guys did all right too.
We're just riding her coattails to success. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. We obviously love the Net Capital. Couldn't be happier to be part of the team here with you. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, you guys make a good wingman as we add on to the thing. And I guess I just want to give one more shout out to the Virginia Distillery team, because really, the team there has been amazing to us. We have really been able to leverage the expertise they have there in the supply, and as well as just their embrace of us as a team and a brand, and they've gone above and beyond. So I just want to make sure to double up on that one.
Thanks, Eric. We appreciate you and the Netcapital team. Cheers.
I was
Cheers.
getting ready for one last cheer, so I poured one last splash. I wanted to do it. Thank you so much. Cheers to you
Cheers.
all. Appreciate you.
Cheers. Bartender, I'm out.